Yo guys, welcome to The Last Lap. Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it.
Yeah.
What doesn't make sense to me is that there's that whole 200 million buy-in, which is meant to circumvent this. So you pay 200 million to enter, and then that gets split, so 20 mil per team, to account, I guess, for that lack of revenue.
And I believe,
Which I also think is crazy, by the way.
There's a lot
You
of
have to
money.
pay the other teams
Yeah.
to get involved in the sport.
But
That's mad.
I believe that is also governed by the FIA because it's more an appeal to enter rather than like a. You can pay 200 mil and then basically teams could be like, thank you, but nah, I'm all right, kind of thing. So if you've got enough merit on your application to submit to it, then basically the FIA could waiver that 200 mil so you don't have to even pay the other teams for it. Because if you come in with a strong enough argument, like let's say like I'm like a really rich person, I've got like billions of pounds, I want to just make a brand new race team. If I'm not shown that I'm not a manufacturer or I've got any racing history, then of course I would need to pay the 200 mil. It's almost like an insurance contract. Like, no, I'm going to be decent on the grid, as it were. But if
I'm serious.
Yeah, but if you're like Andretti, who've got huge racing history across multiple championships, not just, IndyCar, obviously a little bit with Formula One and also like Formula E and other sort of championships as well. You've got that designated background. You've got your own home base as well.
Yeah.
If you're, and then potentially coming into a manufacturer, if that's not then good enough to kind of waiver the fees, then it's kind of like asking the question, well, what is good enough for you? Because you've got Porsche who are already going to try and buy a team from someone else, which is kind of not a full entry, but it's kind of a side gateway to get into one. But if you're coming in as a brand new manufacturer or a brand new team, if that's not good enough for you, then kind of what is? So that there is that topic of like, you got the 200 mil, which I think for Andretti, they've got enough cash in the bank. They don't need to worry about that.
Oh, Michael Andretti's already come out and said he's got the money.
I personally would like a return to the 90s where anyone in their nan could start a Formula One team. And it would just be about whether you could qualify and build like a bathtub into a Formula One car. I would like that back. Thank you very much. The start of the 90s was sick.
It is mad to think there was a time where you could rock up to a weekend and not even race, potentially, because
you didn't qualify.
You wouldn't even go fast
qualify.
enough to qualify.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, I know there's a degree of fear around, we don't want, like we were saying earlier, like HRT, Virgin, Marussia, these back market teams who don't add anything to the sport, don't achieve anything. I get that, but we are in a different era. There is a cost cap. I don't think that would happen. Ultimately, is it a question of these teams, do they have too much power? Should these teams even be able to have a say? Because I think there's quite a compelling argument for them to be like imagining like the Premier League.
This is
where like teams start divvying out. Oh no, actually we're gonna add another round to the FA Cup or something.
So this is the comparison that we give is sort of like from a footballing perspective. You would never get a situation where the FA, for example, or FIFA were like, we kind of want to do this, and the teams were like, we're dipping. But the problem is F1 teams do have that power where if there's a rule they don't like, they can just go, we're just going to dip.
They can veto.
They can just leave. Whereas a Premier League club, if Arsenal weren't happy with a rule that's coming into play in the in the Premier League, or VAR, they weren't happy with whatever, they can't just go, we're leaving football, because no one would go with them.
Exactly.
And it would be the end of the, whereas manufacturers and F1 teams have other ventures.
Well, they have the power to veto as well. That's the thing. It's written into the Concord Agreement that they have the power, that they have to agree to it. And I think it's McLaren and Alpine that the only two teams who have gone on record supporting Andretti's bid, and this was back when this was back last year when this was just kind of talk. But I do think that ultimately, if you're Toto Wolff, right?
Yeah.
What's in it for you? I'm devil's advocate here, but I think it's fair cop, right? What's in it for you letting an 11th team join? You're going to get less prize money. You've got one extra rival as well. What's in it for you? And I get why there's pushback from the teams, but as far as I'm concerned, the team shouldn't even be allowed. They're entitled to not want it to happen because it takes away a bit of their money and there's an extra rival. I get that, but they shouldn't have that power as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and
I don't think F1 needs to give that power away anymore like it used to like Ferrari.
Because I think F1 is a much more admirable sport to be involved in. Like it's not
definitely
every single manufacturer wants to be involved in Formula One realistically to some degree. Like Honda just keep flip-flopping
they do
back
now.
and forth and whatever. I feel like F1 are underestimating themselves and they need to take back that power from the teams realistically. Like you said, there's no way that the team should be able to have a say on someone else joining.
Yeah,
so
totally.
obviously they're going to say no. They don't
And
want
also,
to.
like, the Concord Agreement was written in 1981 by Bernie Ecclestone, and it's like the fact that you're still under that ruling of someone who was arguably quite toxic to the actual sport. As good as their aspirations were to try and heighten it a bit more, it's still like. There's been rules which we've had to change to modernise it how it works, because the rules back then,
because there have been adjustments. I think there was
I
think the most recent version of the Concord was 2020. I think.
Yeah,
but
even then it's so dated, because obviously it's more reliant on what the TV rights were, and that's ultimately why that whole agreement was brought in, because there was a huge argument between the FIA and Formula One if they should still be working together, because of there's a whole fiasco around the rules and regulations back then, and that's why this Concord Agreement came in, and that's why ultimately Bernie wanted to sell the TV rights to make sure everyone knew this was an entertainment package. And I think going back to your question about Toto Wolff, my kind of whole stance on it is kind of like, yeah, you are players in this competition. You can have a disagreement to a point. And there's certainly some things which they can absolutely disagree on with the FIL and F1 about. But if it's adding on like an extra team, I mean, come on. I mean, it's not like Mercedes are strapped for cash or any other of the other teams, as it were. And I think a good example last year when we saw Haas, properly off the pace, it's probably one of the last few times when we're ever going to really kind of see that again. Is Minton? Okay.
So Minton's climbing this. I'm going to grab it.
Yeah, you grab him.
Get him involved. There he is.
We're just hearing.
You can't take him anywhere.
We're hearing pitter patter the whole entire time.
He's trying to climb the set. Look at him.
What are you saying about the whole situation, Minton? What's your thoughts on Andretti?
He's a Hamilton fan.
Is it?
Because Ham's his favourite meat. So, aren't you? You're a big Ham fan. Carry on, man.
I'm just trying to know.
To any audio only, you're missing out. But you're really missing out right
Subscribe on YouTube and you'll see the dog.
Exactly.
The question about what Toto is kind of, what's the benefit for him?
Yeah.
There won't be anything at all.
No,
apart from new competition, basically. All the benefit is going towards the consumer who's consuming the product, and then also Formula One to get more eyeballs in, especially in the American market, which is ultimately the whole reason why they're kind of wanting to do this.
And the FIA clearly want this. This is the reason BM's been so vocal, being like it's essentially kind of like putting this stuff public.
Yeah. He slapped it on Twitter. He was just like, we're searching for a new team.
Literally.
And it kind of forces the teams to kind of react. I respect that. I appreciate that. I think he's done a good job.
Having more teams on the grid certainly helps with more rates. I mean, we've got Monaco back here, right? If you had another two more teams here, right, that means you got 4 more extra cars. That ultimately means you've then got loads more opportunities for overtakes, and it's one of the quickest ways.
I don't think Monaco was the best.
Look, if you're all concertinated together, you've got more opportunities.
If there's enough
to go
cars
for it.
on the track, you will get overtakes at Monaco. I hear that.
Totally.
More
Any other track. I know that's not like that's the way we've now fixed Monaco. See you later, everybody. We're off now. We've sorted it out. No, that's not the clear. That's not the clear answer to it. But having more teams and having more different drivers into it, that's going to ultimately help.
Well, what's the perfect number of teams?
I'm up for 24.
24 teams.
Sorry, 24 drivers, 12 teams.
What is this?
No, you know what? I hear it.
48
cars on the grid.
Around Monaco as well.
24 drivers, 12 teams is what I meant to say.
No, 12 teams I agree
because we've had it before, and I know before it hasn't really worked, but back that you can't compare it because there's different monetary backing with all those different teams, where now we're in a point where all teams are within 3 seconds of each other. I think that's kind of where it works.
When we had 12 teams before, obviously, it was HRT, Marussia, Caterham, wasn't it, when they all entered? But because we were going to have the cost cap then. They were going to do a cost cap in 2009.
You're right.
2010.
Yeah.
Decided, everyone was like, nah, all the original teams were like, absolutely not, we'll all leave.
Because they had the power.
Because they had the power.
Veto that, yeah.
And then obviously at that point, that's when you ended up with all the new teams being absolutely fucked because they were completely off the pace, didn't have the finances to compete with all the big teams. But we actually do have a cost cap now.
Yeah.
So realistically, any team that comes in, whilst they might be off the pace a little bit, maybe at the start, does have the opportunity to catch up.
And we also do have the rules now where not any team can just buy their way in. That's literally what we're kind of seeing at the moment. That's why Porsche is struggling to get in. That's why they're having to go through a different team, maybe with AlphaTauri or whatever it might be. Same with Audi having to buy over the stakes from Sauber. It's because it's so hard to kind of get into it because they're very much closely knit. And this is the first time we've properly seen it where a brand new team are coming in as a brand new entry. And that's why we're seeing all this kind of pushback, not necessarily from the FIA or what with Mohammed in particular, but with FIA, with the Formula One themselves, because it's a new venture. No one really knows what now is the rules and regulations with this because it's been so closely knit for so long.
I'd be surprised if Formula One, the organisation, aren't supportive of it because I feel like another team, especially with it, again, we've talked to death about the growth of US market. There's a lot of people listening, watching in the US, that market has grown so much. We understand that. And I don't think F1 as an organisation would be against it. I get why the teams... Again, they're going to act selfishly. That's their job. We've always talked about this, whether it's Christian Horner, Malcolm, whether it's Toto Wolff coming out with some mad statement. Like, it is their job to protect their interest. I understand that. I get that. But should they be allowed to veto it when it's clearly in the best interest of the sport to expand the calendar? The one thing I would say is that if we're going to say 12 teams is the optimum, right, that's two more. Two more teams, that's two slots, right? If one of them we're going to fill them straight away with the first team that's going to come up and make a lot of noise, I don't necessarily think that's the best move. I think what MBS has come out and said, you open offers, see which offers are going to come in. Say Porsche we want a sole team, manufacturer build, and then Honda wanted to do the same. Would they be more appealing? If you accept the Andretti Cadillac bid, then you've just got one more spot. So I understand that it shouldn't necessarily be jump in at the first team to come about and take your time. But at the same time, the teams shouldn't be involved in.
But equally, I think on the flip side of that, Andretti have been the most proactive in putting together a really solid argument to get themselves into it. So whilst they are the first team to go, we want to do it, whatever. They've gone in first of all, got backlash. They've been kind of pushed away. They've gone right. How do we make this happen now? Cool. We'll link up with Cadillac, and they've brought that to the table as well.
They're serious about it.
They are serious about it. So I think you've got to take some.
And Mario and Michael, I think both ex-F1 drivers.
Exactly, and I think that's where that would be a nice sort of kind of harmony with that. And like you mentioned just before then, it's very much, they're being so vocal about this, more than any other team, because we've heard rumours and stuff with Porsche, but nothing's really been officially claimed by Porsche themselves, because obviously it's all been behind back doors, obviously, where Porsche tried to do like a deal.
They registered that trademark.
They tried to do a deal, which is, and that's not even them doing an announcement, that's just people who have been very good at being searching for that stuff. But obviously they tried to do a deal with Red Bull, that fell through because they wanted to have almost like a 50-50 partnership, which for Red Bull makes no sense. But yeah, with Andretti, they've been the most vocal about it, and it's kind of almost been like an Uno reverse colour, being like, all right, I've got all the funds to make an F1 team, let me in, and F1's be like, no, I don't really believe you. They'll be like, okay, cool. Here's a huge car manufacturer, the biggest one in the US. Now can we have it? And it's kind of like, okay,
you can't really say no.
Exactly. And even like the team base that you mentioned before, they've already broken ground. That's going to happen regardless of this F1 venture or not, because they still want to have everything in the house, because they've got so many different racing categories they're going to do. But the goal has always been for them to go back to F1, because obviously it's gone from drivers, now they want it to be an actual team. They've been the one true family where we've gone from, we were racing drivers, now we've made this huge multi-billion empire.
F1 racing drivers. Mario Andretti has a world title, 1978.
Exactly,
Michael Andretti drove a whole season in 93 alongside Ayrton Senna. They have caliber. They have names to them. No, I'm not disagreeing at all. I just think that F1 and the FIA owes itself to do exactly what MBS has said and take in everyone's offers, weigh it up, because I think they've gone above and beyond.
But this is the thing.
Sure. So they deserve an opportunity on the grid.
So this is I'll pose this question to you guys. So you've got Andretti Cadillac here, who have got huge racing backing. Have got experience, as you said, with their drivers, but it doesn't really translate because they're obviously they're not the ones driving themselves.
No, of course.
Anything. But so you've got this huge racing
heritage.
If you've got this huge racing background, they've got a racing company, they've done multiple championships, won Indy championships, what have you, like that, and are building a team base for this. If they then get denied by F1 and the FIA or whoever party it is, what else does a team need to do then to get entry into Formula One? Because if that's not good enough for you, I'm struggling to figure out what.
Because even the idea of it's got to be an actual car brand, just doing everything, bringing powertrains in as well. That is basically the only thing above and beyond what's being offered here. Because you've got a car brand in Cadillac being involved in it. You've got a heritage name in Andretti. You've got a team that's gone off and won championships and done well in other areas and aspects of motorsport.
What more can they do?
They've got the funds.